from his apartment, it's the Serg Podcast, starring Sergio Santana.
I don't wanna hurt nobody, I just came to vibe. Tonight we ain't with no drama, tell them take it outside.
With tonight's guest,
Shorty and her friends been looking for a while, tell them come and vibe.
Now here's your host,
Disappear for a little, find a place to hide. Forget the problems, man. Gotta put the stress aside.
Santana.
All right, so our first guest tonight is Michael Rainey. Make some noise for him.
What's up, Serg? How are you?
So how you doing, man?
Life's good, buddy. Just doing my podcast. I do Dad Meat Podcast with Tim Butterly.
Yeah.
It's the most fun I've ever had doing anything creatively, and just having that to look forward to every week.
Mhm.
It really has a huge impact on everything else I do in life. So life's going good, man.
Nice. And how long you guys been doing that?
It'll be a year in October,
Dope.
and yeah, it was just we were both locked down with kids and jobs, so doing a podcast was like the easiest way for us to continue to be creative.
Yeah.
And we got lucky, man. Some people like it, and they help make it worthwhile. And I get to chill out with Tim every week. He's the funniest, coolest guy in the world, man.
That's dope. So obviously, because you started before the quarantine. So when you first started, I know you do like a lot of sketches. Were you planning to do that, or that kind of came in time?
The sketches?
Yeah.
No, I just did them because I feel like my time's really limited. I mean, with that and work, with my family and going to school too, time's really limited. And I always wanted to do that kind of stuff, but it's hard for me to block out, time with other people to say like, okay, hey, let's set aside like a Sunday afternoon to do something. And like, with the sketches, I just got a green screen, and it's like whenever I got like an hour, I'll just say, all right, here, we'll just go through it, and whatever I can get done, I can get done.
Yeah, it's dope. And they're funny. They're hilarious. Like, and then
Thank you, man.
Yeah, and it's cool. Just some of the scenarios you put yourself in. 'Cause I'm like, I would have never thought of that, but it's been great. Like, yeah, just really funny. And so I was thinking, like, when I saw it, I was thinking, like, wow, like, I know it's not a video podcast. Like mine's is like that. Like I do a lot of sketches and stuff. It's more visual.
Mhm.
Trying to get more into the like audio, but like listening to your podcast and like a lot of other guys, you have a co-host, so it's different because you guys have this camaraderie, and it's even inside jokes that even your listeners will kind of keep up with. Yeah. Versus what I had, I start fresh every week, basically.
Yeah.
So,
Did you when you started yours, like, is this how you envisioned it, or was this the most efficient way for you to do this?
it kind of became the most efficient way. I think my vision was always a late night thing. That's It's funny because like I took those Second City classes, and I saw you that one time, and I told you they were like talking about despots, and it was just funny to see you there. But like I use a lot of that stuff that I learned from there for the podcast. So I think I have like 5 podcasts and 1 podcast. That's pretty much where like I interview people, I have the sketches, and I have my monologue, and I do the top story like thing.
That's cool, man, because I mean, like, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but I feel like, just getting older, I'm gravitating toward more of what I want to do, as opposed to like originally when I started doing comedy, it's like it was all about making it and trying to get famous and trying to make a great living off of doing this, when you realize like, oh shit, like I really don't want that. Like one, it's probably not happening, and 2, it's like, what would I really get out of it if I wasn't doing what I wanted to do?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I do feel that way. I think this is like, for one, comedy is like it's a marathon, it's not a race. People are trying to get when you start to realize it, and you're like years and years in, you're like, this is what it is. And you do it because you love it and you enjoy it. And you're right, you start to find other ways for your creativity to go past just your stand-up or your jokes and make it, more, I guess, like a sketch, like, or a movie, or, whatever your idea is, or a cartoon. And it just evolves, and you start to realize you don't have to wait for someone to put you on. You can just make your own stuff. Yeah.
Dude, I don't think there's any better or more freeing feeling than that realization, because I think at the heart of it, like, with us doing the kind of things that we do, like, we know we're funny, and we know the more that we do these things, we're going to get better at it.
Yeah.
When you're kind of waiting for opportunities, that stalls that progress. So you're inadvertently like holding yourself up, but then when you're just like, all right, fuck it, I'm just going to do what I want to do, and whatever comes of it comes of it. If people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. But at the end of the day, like you get to be satisfied that you did what you wanted to do.
Yeah, like you have your Patreon, which I'm still trying to like navigate. I understand it's a paywall, but it's just that you have people that support you and want to listen to it and want to your work, and that's satisfying because, like you said, you don't have to be famous to the world. You just that group of people is enough. And
Right.
It really is, honestly. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't want.
Yeah. Dude, there was something I had read a long time ago called A Thousand True Fans by a guy named Kevin Kelly. And the basis of it is that, like, if you could just forget about trying to get famous, no matter what you're trying to do, trying to get rich or famous, if you could just focus upon attracting 1,000 people that will consume whatever you put out in a given year, with 1,000 true fans, like, you should be able to sustain a living off of that if that's really what you want to do.
Yeah.
And that was like kind of like the mindset going into this, is that, like, with Tim and I, it's like, okay, if we can get 1,000 true fans, I think we could probably get what we want out of this. But now that it's like taken on a life of its own, people, we're fortunate in that, like, people communicate with us, and like I think because we're open and honest, people are willing to be open and honest with us. So we form relationships with people where it's just like, I don't even give a shit about the 1,000 number anymore. It's like the people that we get to interact with that support us. I'm fine if it never grows from this point on, just because those people have made this so fulfilling.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I totally agree with that in a way where, as far as like sitting, like having a conversation right now, like we're having this conversation. I don't always have the opportunity to talk to some of the people that I would like to talk to, and so you have that opportunity with the podcast, and it just opens doors in a way. Opportunities that you probably weren't thinking about first, and it's just that for me is satisfying. It doesn't matter how many people are watching it. Like you said, you keep getting better. Like I'm but this is going to be, I pre-recorded episodes, so I don't know what number episode this will be, but I have like 10 coming up, as far as recording wise, whoever's watching, but and so that episode has Derek Gaines on it, and
he's the man.
Yeah, he's the man.
He's so funny, man.
Yeah, I love Derek, and it was an awesome interview with him too, and I've known him like for 17 years. Like I didn't realize it's been that long because I used to have open mic on South Street. He would come out, and Richie Redding and a couple other guys like Monroe. But it's just funny that, because of kids. I had kids. He was like, I didn't have any kids. That's why. I love comedy so much. Yeah. And I would, come in and out because of, family. And now my kids are older. So, my daughter's 21 and my son's 14. And it's a shame because he's a freshman in high school online. But it's where we're living. But yeah. How old are your kids?
They're getting older too, which makes things easier. 17, 13, and about to be 10 in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with them getting older, I mean, it really, I don't know. It's just, granted, like my wife did pretty much all the work, so I was out doing whatever dumb shit I wanted to do. Like I would say like I was going out doing comedy, but the reality is I just wanted to get fucked up with my buddies.
Yeah.
So
jokes. I mean,
yeah. But it's cool now with having kids that are older and just being able to just focus on a lot of things that I want to do.
But they can Google us now. That's the thing,
Yeah, that's something I worry about, man. And I guess, I try to be open and honest anyway. And like, with whether it's in like person to person interaction or on the podcast or whatever, like if you ask me something, I'll tell you. Yeah. Because, anything like I talk about all the time, like on the podcast with like my struggles with alcoholism, addiction, depression, like all that shit. Like there's nothing that I've done that I wouldn't speak about, or nothing that I've experienced that I wouldn't speak about. And I think doing that makes it infinitely less of a burden than it would have been if I was trying to hide all this stuff.
Yeah. What I like about your podcast too is because it's not, when you do that, you're not always trying to be funny. And that's, I mean, you shouldn't be trying to be funny, which you understand that at this point in the game, but it's just, you're not, it's a different animal. It's as far as like entertainment is concerned anyway, podcast. Cause like we could say something on a podcast that could get us in trouble versus if you said it on stage, that same thing, it gets a laugh, and it's navigating that gray area, I guess. Yeah. But I appreciate that too, because you're that's what I mean. Like when you have a co-host where you're able to have discussions every week, you can kind of get into those things. I don't feel like I have that. Sometimes I might have to start another podcast. I might have to do.
But dude, sir, I mean, just in the 10 minutes that we've been on here, like you make this like I was nervous. Anytime I do anything like this, I get nervous. Like just immediately right off the bat, you have a very disarming way that makes it easy for people to relax.
That's funny.
So
Everybody keeps telling me that, and I'm like, I don't
yeah.
know what I'm doing. But yeah, so like I'm like, yeah, like you were saying, like I'm like what, like I said, I'm not 9 or 10. So I have like maybe 7 or 8 interviews in the bag with yours too. So I try to pre-record because of work, but I feel like it does get easier. Like I'm getting more used to what I'm doing. And then even like my monologue, I bought a teleprompter. Like I don't know, like I think like the last three monologues, I was like, that's me. I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't. But you can't tell. I'm just reading it, like
Yeah.
crazy.
Dude, I give you a lot of credit because I'm looking across the room right now because like when I do videos, like I have the memory of a goldfish. So like I gotta have the words in front of me. And I just bought a cardboard box and I print shit out and I tape it to the board and I just read it off of that. So it might be worthwhile to invest in a teleprompter.
Buddy, we're gonna have to get like I was thinking that too because I can key your because I have an MFA in film, so I was looking at some of your green screen stuff and the backgrounds are fire, and I'm like I can key in better. I could probably there a little,
Yeah.
I do that sometimes too, like especially if I'm rushing. Like my brother called
Yeah.
me last week, was like, your arm was cut off in that sketch. I'm like, buddy, nobody was
Yeah.
paying attention. I hope not. So,
Yeah. Seriously, like with that, like I think with each video, like I'm trying to like upgrade to better technology to match like what I want to try to do. And like with each video, I feel that it's just like you'll see somebody be like, oh fuck, man. Why didn't I notice that at first? But then you notice it and for like the next video. Like there was one, I think it was the third one I did where I realized the audio is just dog shit. So I was like, all right, I got to invest in a better lapel mic. So I got one and the audio has been better. But then in something I recorded 2 nights ago, I realized like I had the mic too close to my mouth. So it was clipping and it was like the audio was unusable. So I was like, all right, well, now I just got to do this shit again. But, it's all trial and error. And
I've been there, man. But the hard part was like a lot of this I do by myself, and the majority of it. I just started filming some of the sketches with my cousin where he's running the camera and the sound for me. So we set up a boom because it got to the point where the audio was like kind of like shitty on some of it, and I was like, I can't, like, it's supposed to be a podcast. Like, the audio is the most important part, So how can I, get away with that? But it's weird because I know people are watching it more than they listen to it. So I'm trying to figure it out too, like as I, go through it as well. Which I don't know what I care for either way. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, just by the fact that you're thinking that way, it's inevitably going to get better.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like it's pushing me to write things that I wasn't writing before because I never wrote topical. I wrote personal. So now I'm writing more topical, which is a completely different animal. And then I do my research to find really idiotic stories to talk about. Stuff that we're not, because I feel like we need some type of comic relief. You don't want to talk about the same stuff. So I try to find stupid stories because there's always something stupid every week, regardless of what's going on.
Yeah, man. And it's like, I think, you hear it in day-to-day conversations, like people are just, it's like so many people are still trapped in this loop in regards to like everything that we've all experienced over the past like 6 months. It's like, we don't have to keep harping on this. Like it's going to be that regardless of whether or not we dwell upon it all day or not. So why not just focus on some things? It's like, okay, we have all this time in the house now. Like, we're really at the limits of our own creativity. So why not just make cool shit to make people's lives better and to make us feel better too.
And it's crazy how much content we consumed within like 5 or 6 months where like all the studios are scrambling to make new stuff. They're like, oh my God, they watched everything. They started releasing old stuff. They're like, we got to start proper. It's just, I don't know. And we're in a place where I think it's leveled out now, where we can do stuff just as good quality-wise as the majors and figure out a way to do it on a micro budget, honestly, because the technology's there.
And dude, like to me, like that's a big part of the fun in this because like I am as technically deficient as a person can be, but I'm just because I want to do what I want to do. Like I'm just trying to learn as much as I can about what I would need to make what's in here come out like on people's screens. Yeah. So it's cool being able to do that and being able to do it on a relatively like limited budgets. Like I don't make a lot of money, so it's like, all right, I got to find a way to get cheap shit that still produces decent quality enough so that somebody's not like, all right, 5 seconds in there, like I can't even watch this.
Absolutely. Like you have to invest in yourself,
Yep. Yeah.
To say it has no budget means it has some type of budget,
Yeah, it is
$70 or something like that. You have to, spend a couple dollars on yourself. And right now I'm like, I know things are starting to open up, but I feel people are still apprehensive to go out.
Yeah.
So to think that to not, I guess like if you're a comic and you just don't do anything, this is really bad. You know, because
Yeah.
you're keeping yourself stagnant. You
It
have to
is,
find
man.
or something like
It is, and I mean, like as weird as shit has been over the past like 6 months, it's like yeah, you can throw in the towel and just sit and wait for things to get back to the way they used to be, where you can just be like, all right, I'm going to do what I'm going to do with whatever resources I have right now, so that when this is over, I'm going to come out of it different, and I'm going to have different skills than I had going into it.
yeah. So like the Zoom shows, like I don't have you done the Zoom shows?
I have not. No. Do you like it or?
No, I don't. I always ask every comic about it just to see what their thoughts are. I mean, I don't think it's going anywhere. I can say
Yeah.
that, but it's and the ones that do it, God bless them. Like I will watch Rachel Fogletto's. I give her like
Yeah, I like Rachel a lot. She's good.
because she really like it felt like a show in a way the way she ran it. And it's hard to do with this. We're on Zoom. But I would some type of normalcy for me because I didn't have any desire to perform on it, but I liked watching other comics that we knew, just watching them basically try material because that's basically what you're doing. Because you can't really do stand up. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't know what the call is. A totally different vibe. Yeah.
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 I got asked to do one, and I was apprehensive to do it just for that because, like, I don't know that I've ever felt comfortable doing stand up. I like telling jokes, but at the same time, I don't know. I've never felt really good at stand up, and like that was doing Zoom shows just felt like, even harder than it was for me. So I was just like, yeah, I don't know if I could do this.
Oh no, I don't. I decided to go this route. I was like, I can do the podcast, and at first I tried to go live, so it was a disaster, compared to like now I pre-record and it's easier to control it,
Yeah.
because you don't know what can happen on live, really.
Yeah.
That's why that's the whole point of being live, I guess. But yeah, I hear you, man. So but you've done other stuff too, like as far as like film wise, like I think where I seen you on wasn't Tires, was it? It was on Delco proper, I think it was.
Yeah.
On Tires too, maybe. I don't know.
For one of the Tires episodes I was on, but yeah, I would say like the bulk of like any kind of like on-screen work I've done was with Delco proper and McKeever and all those guys, and it was just the most fun anybody could ever have doing anything.
Yeah, and that's a good example too of just doing your own thing.
It is, and it's like I could talk about John McKeever forever because one, he gave me an opportunity to as a principal character in a show that was one step away from being on Comedy Central. So I'm forever indebted to him for that. But also, him and Tommy Pope are the epitome of just saying like, okay, we're going to do what we want to do. This is our idea, and take it or leave it. And they did that, and they brought all their boys along, and it ended disastrously, but we had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, you learn from it, but it's the fact that's what I mean. Like as you keep getting further in, you're like, I can just do this myself, and you start to realize that. And like I said, like right now, I see, I know at least for me, that's why I took the time to learn how to do it, because a lot of us will start doing things on our own, ourselves, teach ourselves, like with YouTube videos and things. And I just want it to be so tight from the ideas, like you said, the ideas you have in your head. You're like, well, how can I execute this? And so. You just got to do what you got to do, basically.
Do you feel like you've gotten to a point where, like, if you have an idea in your head, you'll instantly be able to figure out, like, going through like a checklist of what you would need to bring that into reality?
Yeah. It's weird because I don't know how to explain it. Like, so that's why I've been having a hard time trying to find somebody to edit the podcast, because like my cousin started helping me. It's like, oh, let me edit. And when he watches discussions, like, I would have never thought of that, because he doesn't know what I'm thinking in my head, but I'm also not communicating it.
Right.
He's saying, film this real fast. And then I go back and I do what I'm going to do. So, yeah.
Dude, I feel like trying to familiarize myself with like all this different shit, specifically editing, just gives me a new appreciation for what editors do. Not only editors, but comedy editing is, you can't teach something like that. Like, I think with editing, like enough people, you could spend enough hours in front of a computer to figure out the basics of editing, but to successfully edit something comedically so that what the joke's intent were get played out with the exact timing that the originator wanted it to, I think is a gift that people aren't paid nearly enough for if they do it successfully.
Oh yeah, I think that the editor themselves have to understand or have some type of level of comedy themselves,
Mhm.
joke writing to understand what that means. Because there's no way. When I was right after I graduated, I interned at Ion TV.
Yeah.
So I got the chance. I was a what was my title? My title was like a producer, writer, editor, intern. So all that meant was I would edit the commercials that they for the shows. So like Law and Order or like Chicago PD, which I fell in love with. So I did a crossover one. That was like my big commercial before I left, and you spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours in a dark room alone, and you're watching this stuff. And I mean, I was watching crime dramas, so
Mhm.
but you can do that. You can manipulate any footage. I've done it. You can take it and you can make it funny if you really wanted to,
Yeah.
as much as you can make it suspenseful or whatever. So it's crazy how editing works. Once you start to understand it, especially you're trying to understand psychology or you're going for psychology, it's so much psychology behind
Mhm.
film. And I don't know why they don't teach directors psychology in college, because it literally is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of what you're watching, like we're literally just observing behavior.
Yeah.
Like that's what we do for entertainment. Like we observe behavior, and like you said, like if the creators or directors or networks the more that I think they understand that, the more that I think they'd have a better a better feel for what people want, which I think is a lot why so many networks struggle, and there's so few like hits, like TV hits it. I don't know how it was before, but now it's just like there's just so much dog shit. It's like it's hard to find a show that resonates with you, and I think it's because the people that make decisions might be like a step behind. They're
Yeah.
like, okay, well, people like this now, or don't really understand what it is that people want to see.
Oh yeah, that's
I
why.
love.
Yeah, love this, like what we're doing now. Use this
Yeah.
independent media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now when you worked for Ion and you were creating that commercial, did they give you a generalized concept of what they wanted, or did they just give you free reign on do whatever you want?
Free reign. That was the cool
Oh, that's
part.
cool.
And then as you created your piece and you would show them, then they would give you critiques, and then they would start to tell you what to change or which way to go. And I think that was something that, for me, I learned a lot of. I don't want to say patience, but it's like it's trying to explain even through like the whole process in school, because we had to work together as a group for thesis.
Hmm.
um you have to understand it's collaborative. There's some people that are really stubborn and they want to just like, this is my vision, this is the way I think,
Hmm.
and they're gone. But when you realize there's a gang of people working on this and we all have our ideas, and it's willing, you should be willing to at least try it. And if
Hmm.
it doesn't work, you say, hey, everybody collectively say, this didn't work, we
Yeah.
tried it. And that's where it should be. And that's kind of, I felt with Ion, I would go and work the hardest, like my heart out on this one piece, and like all week, like hours. It's like 60 hours on this 30-second spot. And then I come in with it and they're like, oh, change this, that, and this is wrong, blah, blah, blah. And you have to like go right back to the drawing board and be okay with it, and
Yeah.
not, be upset in any way in your feelings, So yeah.
That I think, and with you saying that, like that's a skill that I think can be, you could parlay that to any avenue in life, but especially with like creation and having to create within a group context is like being able to just say, okay, no matter what happens, it's like, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
It could be the biggest blow that you've ever suffered creatively, but it's just like, okay, and just keep it moving and just keep going, because if you stop, it's,
Yeah. Especially when it's money involved and there's other
Mhm.
people putting their money in. They're like,
Yeah.
I don't have any say. They're gonna, of course, they're gonna have input.
Mhm.
I've seen projects go in the wrong direction because, a director wants something that shouldn't be, or
Yeah.
the final edit's just not right, and it is what it is, and that's why I said editing is so important. So I don't think that they give the editors enough credit, and then sound editors too, because without the sound, the image is nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that's definitely been hard for me to get a hang of, is finding the right sound for what I want. Like, granted, like I said, like I bought mics that make my shit sound better, but at the same time, like it doesn't sound the way that my shit doesn't sound the way that I want it to right now. So that's going to definitely continue to be a work in progress. So definitely appreciate people that can do that and just be like, oh yeah, this is what you do.
Yeah.
And it's just done.
It's funny because we're all it's all happening to all of us though. Like as comedians, we're doing the podcast and things, but like my wife, she's she's a teaching artist, and then she has to do a lot of Zoom stuff, and then my son's on Zoom with school. It's just this whole new whatever this is and how long it's going to last. I don't want to call it a new world or a new normal because I'm hoping we go back to normal.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know. It's so weird. We're all learning like these video skills. And
It's
editing.
cool, man. Yeah, I think it's cool, man. And it's I think with any situation, you just got to keep it moving. Like we talked about with the editing, it's like they say, I want something different. It's like the world is saying like, all right, you might have these plans, but I want something different right now. And
Yeah,
it's just like, all right, yeah, all right, whatever it is, we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna keep moving, and just get stronger along the way, regardless of what it is. Because like right now, I mean, things worked out pretty well for me during all this. You know, it was just being in the house like forever, and I could have sat here and just played with myself all day and done nothing. But it was just like, all right, I'm gonna get an iMac and learn editing. And it's just like, all right, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to make the videos that I want to make, and whatever comes of it comes of it. But I'm learning something in the process, and that's the best way to make use of this time.
absolutely, absolutely. Like something, any skill. I don't care if you have like a new recipe, like just something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get tested at all? Like, did you have any COVID tests? Out of
I
curiosity?
did, dude. Like I got pretty sick back in like July, and I was convinced that I had it. And I felt sick for like, I would say a couple weeks, and I was like, all right, let me go get tested. So I went to CVS, and it took me like another 2 weeks to get my results, but they came back negative, and it turns out I just had a sinus infection.
Oh, nice.
But other than that, everything's going as smooth as possible. Have you been all right?
Yeah, I've been fine. I haven't, but for my job, I get tested like every week. So
Okay.
it's like just my nostril getting raped every week.
Yeah.
And I just brace myself for it. But I feel like it's getting easier every time.
Yeah.
And that's weird, that I have to do that. But even knowing that I'm negative and then I have to get it done again the next week, they just want to make sure. Like,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
talks of us doing it every single day and going into a bubble. And so, yeah, I'm bracing myself for that, or my nose, basically.
Mhm. Yeah, dude. When I got that done, like I had seen videos of it happening. I was like, all right, well, that looks uncomfortable. Then, like when I finally like put the shit in there, I just start crying because it's just like, oh my god, I can't believe it is like this.
Dude, you talk about crying every time. I'm trying to be a man, and
Yeah.
my left eye just starts bursting tears, just leaking. It
You just want to poke yourself in the eyes, like to try to prevent yourself from being a bitch.
my whole left eye is just whop, just all this.
Yeah.
It's just terrible. But yeah, man. So where can before I let you go, let our listeners know where to find you and stuff.
If you could check us out on YouTube or anywhere where you listen to podcasts. Listen to Dad Meat Podcast, and the basis of the podcast is Tim and I. We consider ourselves reformed losers. Like I'm 41, Tim's 34, and we both went through long stretches where we just weren't doing shit with our lives, and we're just resigned to whatever our external circumstances were. But then we both reached a point individually where we're just like, fuck it. I'm just going to start doing what I want to do with my life. And gradually the wins start stacking up. And then now, we're at a point where, we're leading the lives that we want to lead. And I think when you can make that decision to lead the life that you want to lead, you'd be shocked at how many things go right for you. So that's the basis of Dad Meat Podcast. So come get with us. Join our Facebook group, Dad Meat Kings and Lady Kings. It's just the people. It's one of the few non-gross places on the internet where people can just go and encourage one another and be positive and just feel good about themselves. And then on Twitter, I'm at Mike Rainey 82.
Nice. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Mike.
Thank you.